2022 Formula One season predictions. I spent 3 hours on my stream doing my predictions, and I'll be splitting the videos up into 3 parts. My constructor standing predictions, my teammate head-to-head predictions, and my driver standing predictions. This video is for the teammate head-to-heads. All 3 videos will be uploaded back to back to back on the YouTube channel leading up to the first race this season. So be sure to check them all out on the YouTube channel if you haven't already. All right, let's get into it. Hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already, and be sure to like the video if you enjoy. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really have to think about the head-to-heads too much. To make it a bit more fun, I've done over the 23 races how I think the ratio will look in performance. I haven't done qualifying the race. I've just kind of combined it together, average, whatever. So you guys just have a bit more of a basis, or like a bit more of like an understanding of how well I think each teammate's gonna do it against each other. First up, obviously, we're gonna go in constructor order. So first up, we've obviously got Albon and Latifi, because that's who I've put as 10th in the constructors. I have got Albon, obviously, to win this head-to-head, 15-8. Albon definitely takes a lot of time to get up to speed. He showed that at Red Bull. He did good at Toro Rosso though, but at Red Bull he took he had a year and a half and he didn't really do much. He's now got to get back in that car, in the F1 car, after a year of being out of it and adjust. And yeah, I think that's going to compromise him, a few races maybe at the start on Latifi, because Latifi has been in that team and has been in the sport for 2 years now. But let's remember, Latifi has been wiped by Russell, and I don't think Albon's near Russell's level, but I don't think it's going to be a close head-to-head. But we've got to remember, Latifi was closing in on Russell last year. It was give respect with respect's due for Latifi. He did close in on Russell, and he was 100% my most improved driver of 2021. So if that's anything to go by, he'll get a few races on Albon where Albon, shits the bed and gets nervous and, maybe takes a little bit of time to get up there. Part of me feels like I should have pushed it a little bit higher up for Albon, but part of me also feels like that's fair. I've got to give respect where respect's due for Latifi. But, coming back to what I said earlier, this is 100% the worst driver pairing on the grid. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's like, Mazepin and Magnussen being on a team together, but we've got 2 drivers, 4 years between them, 2 years each. Albon shatters pants in DTM as well against Lawson. Like, they're both not, I wouldn't say both of them are top 10 drivers, and that's a problem. It's going to be a lot of adjusting for both drivers this year. For the head-to-head for Vettel and Stroll, I have got Vettel just winning out by 5 over Stroll, 14-9. I think last year, Stroll showed that he may not be the best driver on the grid, but he's at least consistent at being average. I think Vettel's going to adapt to the new regs quicker, but we also know Vettel struggles to adapt, to drive hard cars. And that Ferrari, even last year, he spins a lot, he struggles, he doesn't do too well. I'll be honest, like Vettel and Stroll had a very, very even season last season. I think the head-to-head was very similar to what I've done, but they were very, very close in performance, in my opinion. Vettel obviously had those standout performances, and I expect him to do that again this year, where maybe like a small handful of races, he gets a result that we're like, woo, Vettel, well done, dude. And maybe Stroll will luck his way to some more good results. But yeah, I think it'll be a pretty close pairing. And yeah, another, just like I said last year, I mean, Stroll was just going to stay in the sport forever at this point. But just like I said last year, this is a year for Stroll to prove himself against a 4-time world champ before he retires. So why not go do it? 14-9 for me, 14-9. My prediction for the teammate head-to-head is Bottas 21-2. I mean, let's think about it here, right? In the last few years, let's think about all the rookies who have come into the sport. Latifi, wiped by Russell. Tsunoda, wiped by Gasly. Mazepin even got wiped by Schumacher somehow. Bottas has been in the sport for however fucking long, and Zhou is brand new. I think the advantage Zhou has is because it's new regs, Bottas isn't going to have as much of that experience carried on over that Zhou can capitalize on. But let's remember, Bottas was on a top team with experience, and Zhou's never been in the sport before. And Bottas has no pressure. He's got a multi-year contract at Alfa Romeo. He's just left a top team. I don't think Zhou will do bad. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's going to be the next Latifi or Mazepin or anything like that, where he's like miles off his teammate. But I do think he's not gonna ever finish above Bottas. I've given him 2 because, retirements or something. But yeah, 21-2, that's my guess. Okay, let's be real. If Bottas loses his Zhou, we know for a fact Mercedes wasted probably about 4 fucking years of Bottas. I mean, that's a pretty easy one. Boom. I have got Magnussen winning by, 7. This was a hard one for me. I think when Magnussen first got announced for the sport, got announced he was coming back, I initially thought, oh, wow, this is not that best of a move. And then I thought about it. Wait, Magnussen never really had a chance to prove himself. As much as I would prefer a younger driver over Magnussen, he's been in a poopy car. So when he was in the poopy car, he was always driving it to its max, you know, like always qualifying as best as he could, driving it the best he could. He's really good at driving. You know, give him a car, he'll drive it at his best. He doesn't need a car perfectly for him. And the more I thought about it, like Schumacher has been driving this dog shit Haas last year. He's now got to kind of readapt to this new car and the new regs. Schumacher throughout his entire junior career, F3, F2, took a year to kind of get used to his team and the cars. And I think he's going to have to do some more of that this year as a rookie. And if he is in a midfield, like I expect him to be, mid-backfield, he lacks that experience driving people. He's literally driven no one in an entire year. Whereas Magnussen's got that experience. The reason why I've given 8 to Schumacher, you know, everything I'm saying sounds like it's a fucking domination to Magnussen. But the reason I've given Schumacher 8 is because I think Schumacher's a great driver. I think he'll edge him out in a couple races. But I think at the start of the season, maybe he should do well. I also don't want to be mean to Schumacher because I think he should do well as well. It's hard to tell. All right, next up, the Alpine boys. And I have got Alonso somewhat dominating Ocon this year. Last year, Alonso beat Ocon, and it was his first year back in the sport after 2 years. And he also took a lot of time to get up to speed, and he still beat Ocon. So this year, he's now up to speed with the sport again. He's in a brand new car, so they're on even playing field in the sense of learning it. Alonso's been in the sport for a very, very long time. He's shown in previous years, especially that Ferrari, I can't remember what year, you know, he can drive a shit car. If Alpine's shit, he'll beat Ocon. If it's good, he'll beat Ocon. And that's why I'm pretty confident Alonso will dominate Ocon this year. I've given 7 to Ocon though, because obviously Alonso will get the occasional few races that he does well, maybe when a red flag comes out, like at Hungary and Saudi Arabia. I think he'll be close behind Alonso, but I don't think he'll be fighting him. I don't think it's going to be a close head-to-head. I think Alonso will come out on top most years. So yeah, Ocon will compete, but just not consistently with Alonso. Anyways, next up, we have got McLaren, and I have got a Norris domination again. This might be a little bit of a controversial one, but let's just remember Norris is on another level right now. Norris is just like Gasly, very fucking consistent, week in, week out. Last year in a McLaren, qualifying ahead of Perez a lot of the time, up there with the big boys in qualifying, and then in the race holding his ground, doing really good. When they had a big boy behind him, he did good in defending them, keeping up with them. He's on another level. He's just so consistent, and I think it will carry through into this year. But we've got to remember, Norris hasn't had to go through a reg change before. He's only been at the one team of McLaren, and he's kind of got the car built around him a little bit at the moment. Yeah, you know, it's hard to tell, but I think going off of last year, I think Norris is going to dominate again. Ricciardo's shown he takes a long time to adapt. First year at Renault, first year at McLaren last year. He's going to have to adapt to a new regulation change again. So I think by the time Ricciardo gets up to speed, Norris has already dominated. So, and a little asterisk in my opinion. I don't think it's too important, but you got to remember Ricciardo had less time in the car at Bahrain, not by a lot because their car sucked at Bahrain, but you know, a few hundred less laps. So he's on the back foot in that sense. So you know, Norris should be able to get up to speed a bit quicker. Whether that ratio is tighter or bigger, I think Norris wins that 99% this season. If Ricciardo beats Norris this year, I'll be so shocked. Next up, AlphaTauri. What have I gone for? A domination, but not as much as last year, but still a domination. I mean, we can't ignore, just like Norris, Gasly is so consistent and has been so consistent for his whole time at AlphaTauri. The only problem is Gasly did struggle to adapt to that Red Bull. Yes, that was a very hard car built around someone else, but he did struggle to adapt to it. So is he going to struggle to adapt to these new regs? Even if Gasly struggles to adapt to the new regs, Tsunoda is going to struggle to adapt as well. So it's still going to balance out. I still think Gasly's going to absolutely wipe Tsunoda, but I do think Tsunoda's going to, not be 1.5 seconds off, maybe like 5 tenths or a few tenths off. But that doesn't mean anything in the head-to-head, right? Whether he's 2 seconds off or 2 tenths off, the head-to-head means how many times will Gasly beat Tsunoda in qualifying in the race. I think it's going to be 18-5 throughout the season. Tsunoda's still learning, and I mean, Tsunoda struggled a lot last year, so what do we think? I think Hamilton is going to win 15-8. Now, this does not mean I think Russell's going to be shit. Just like I said, with Gasly and Tsunoda, I do think whether Russell was 1.5 seconds off or 1/10 off, Russell, I don't think, will win the head-to-head against Hamilton. And if he does, big fucking props to Russell if he does. But let's be real. You can have confidence and faith in Russell all you want, but if you're ignoring the fact that Hamilton is a 7-time champion, 6 times at that same team, the experience he has with that team, it's his team. It is his team. He is comfortable there. He doesn't need to adapt at all this year, apart from maybe his driving style for the car, which Hamilton has shown in previous years he's very good at doing in junior series as well. Hamilton's had experience of new regs before, whereas Russell will be adapting to the regs for the first time, on top of a team for the first time, atop of competing with a 7-time champion for the first time, on top of being at the front of the field for the first time. Hamilton came into the sport against Alonso and beat him. We've seen times Leclerc went to Ferrari and matched Vettel. There are times where the top dog does get overthrown or matched by the younger driver, but I don't think you can comfortably say Russell is going to outperform Hamilton this year in his first year. I don't think you can say that confidently. To give a little bit of a negative side to Hamilton, he did make a lot of mistakes last year. One of his messiest seasons, a lot of mistakes, not qualifying as high as he was in previous years, but I still think it's an extraordinary level him and Max are driving at that they will outperform Russell. So I don't think the 15-8 will show how close it will be. Again, I think it will be close. I think the head-to-head will be a little bit spread, but how close they are on track will be close. All right, next up, we have got the Red Bull guys, and I think, was this my biggest domination? No, Zhou Bottas is my biggest domination, but I got Verstappen beating Perez any day of the week. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not me saying Perez is shit. This is not me saying that Perez won't do better this year. It's just, can I see a world where a Red Bull that is made for Max Verstappen, in my opinion, the best driver on the grid right now. Do I see a world where Perez beats him consistently? I don't. I would love to. Last year I said Perez was going to do well against Max, and I was proven wrong. Not just because Perez needed to adapt to the car, but Max is just on another level. I just don't see a world where Perez beats Verstappen in the head-to-head. Maybe it's closer, maybe it's like 18-5, but there's no way Perez beats Verstappen. If he does, that will be... Can you imagine Perez beats the world champion of his own car, who's been in that car for 6 years, had the car built around him? Perez is going to be the king of kings if he does that. I just don't... Yeah, Verstappen on top any day of the week. And we've got our last teammate head-to-head. Probably the spiciest head-to-head of them all. We have got Leclerc and Sainz. And I have got Leclerc edging Sainz the same as last year, 14-9. Even though Sainz beat Leclerc in championship points last year, Leclerc still won the head-to-head. Leclerc, in my opinion, and stats show he is the better qualifier and has better performances in the races. But in terms of championship points, Sainz is the better driver of keeping it consistent and delivering points. In other words, Leclerc's a faster driver. He's going to beat Sainz in the head-to-head. But Sainz, will continue to do his thing where he brings in the points every single week. I've literally just gone with the same head-to-head as last year because I think Sainz will improve this year. He's good at adapting the car, but I also think these new reg of cars are so perfect for Leclerc's driving style. Him and Max's driving style are so perfect for this, and I think that's going to play into Leclerc a lot. And I think also Sainz beating Leclerc last year has been a big wake-up call for Leclerc, which I think will push Leclerc to do even better this year. Yes, also Leclerc's more experienced at the front of the grid. Sainz has been in the midfield for most of his career, and assuming Ferrari have the car this year, they'll be fighting at the front. And Sainz has never had to fight for a race win before. When he has, it's been in a McLaren against fucking Gasly at Monza. He's never been fighting at the front in a championship. And I do think there's a lot to learn in that. Coming back to Russell real quick, I think that's another reason why Russell has a lot to learn in the Merc. He's also adapting the team, but he's got to adapt to that different style. And I think Sainz, is he going to be able to compete with the likes of Max Verstappen, Leclerc, and Lewis Hamilton at the front of the grid? He showed that even on track last year, he was losing out to Leclerc most times on track. So drivers who I think are even better than Leclerc in Verstappen and Hamilton, he's probably not going to be able to beat them as well. Or he's going to take time to adjust to that. So yeah, this is probably my favorite driver pairing that I'm looking forward to the most this year. As a Leclerc fan, obviously hope Leclerc comes out on top, but I also want to see a world where Sainz beats Leclerc because Sainz deserves it. Sainz has proven in his whole career that he should be the main driver. He's always been the second driver. At McLaren, even when he should have been the main driver, he was still treated equally. I like that though. I like that both Ferrari and McLaren kind of treat their drivers equally, at least at the moment. But I feel like Sainz has never had the opportunity to be the main driver of the team. And I think if he beats Leclerc this year, he's going to prove that he deserves to be that main driver for once. Okay, interesting poll. The first one that's gone towards the second driver.
There's no need to complicate things. Let's stick to the basics.